Hello and welcome back to yet another list. This is sort of it's a top 10, but it's really a bottom 10. It's the top 10 worst starting quarterbacks. So this is currently going into 2021. I'm also excluding rookies from this list. And the way I'm doing it is it's whoever I consider to be the best quarterback on that roster. So this player might not even actually be the main starting quarterback, but it's the guy who I consider to be the best quarterback. So as an example of that, when you have Cam Newton and Mac Jones, Jones is the rookie, but so he's not included anyways. But if he weren't a rookie, I personally would rather have Mac Jones than Cam Newton. So I would say Mac Jones is the better quarterback and would be the starter, even if Cam Newton's going to actually be the week 1 starter. That's kind of how it works. So without further ado, let's just get right into the list. We'll start off with number 10. And also, I guess one more thing I'll say. Follow me on Twitter. Link is in the description, just at Jackson Kruger. Make sure to check that out. The other thing is, I know I've been making a good amount of top 10 lists. They're not my favorite thing to make. I mean, I enjoyed the positional stuff. This kind of thing, I'd rather be making film studies. Currently, NFL Game Pass, as of right when I'm recording this video, is down. So I have no access to film. So this is what we have to deal with. I'm going to get a bit creative with the content I'm making today. Also, my house is now without AC again, which is another frustrating thing. So if I'm sweating in any of the videos where you see me wearing this shirt, which should be released, today or tomorrow, I believe, maybe the next day as well, you'll know why. It's been kind of a frustrating day, but we're going to power through it and we'll get back into the list at this point. Number 10 is Ben Roethlisberger. And just so you guys know sort of how this matches up, he's the 20th best starting quarterback. So that's where he is. 10th worst, 20th best, because there was a couple that, are rookies, so they don't count. Roethlisberger's not a horrible quarterback. And, he was a solid game manager type. And we've seen this happen with quarterbacks before. Drew Brees is a great example of someone who had success when his arm clearly had deteriorated. I mean, you look at Brees' numbers the past few years, he's not throwing for 5,000 yards, but his passer rating was insanely high. So there's still ways you can have success, but let's just be honest. He's not what he once was. And I don't think it's crazy to say that. So he's not a bad quarterback, but you have to have 10 on this list. He's here at number 10. Number 9, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Again, not a horrible quarterback. These first few aren't going to be guys who you're saying, oh yeah, that guy sucks. It's going to be, yeah, he's not he's not what would be your number one choice, and he is kind of a backup plan, but he's a good backup plan, and he's shown that he can be a pretty good quarterback. He's also shown that he can have absolutely horrible moments, and obviously we all know about the turnovers. That's the main reason why he's on this list. And speaking of turnovers, Jameis Winston. I mean, Winston is just Fitzpatrick, but dialed up to 11, basically. All risk it, all risk it, sometimes biscuit, I guess, is the terminology for Winston. Obviously, the 33 touchdowns and 30 interceptions. That wasn't, half of that is very good. The other half, not so much. And that's the interesting thing about Winston is he will make some incredible plays, but obviously we all know about he makes bad decisions. And on top of it, a thing that doesn't get talked about enough that I bring up a lot, but not a lot of people bring up a lot, is that he will have some accuracy issues. He will just completely whiff on a throw. So again, he's not the worst starting quarterback in the league, but he's certainly he's probably the last guy I would say on this list that I have I don't have any major concerns about heading into next season, but I also am not necessarily holding my breath that he'll be good. Number 7 is Jalen Hurts, who there's stuff I like about Hurts. I don't think he's a horrible quarterback either. He's kind of in this potential tier where, there's a chance things could work out with Jalen Hurts. I mean, there's definitely moments, flashes I liked. There was some stuff that wasn't spectacular, but also I think kind of the bad stuff, I think in part was due to just him being in a horrible situation. So I'm hopeful that situation isn't completely ideal next year, but it's a little better in terms of who he'll have to throw to. And hopefully we can see how it works. And again, he's a young player. So part of him being on this list and being kind of high up on the list is simply just because, he's a young player and he's got some work to do. And I'm just talking about right now, not for the future. Number 6, I have the guy who was picked 6th overall a couple years ago, Daniel Jones, who again has shown flashes. The turnovers are a very real thing, and he does have to clean that up. There is some hope about he could pull sort of an Eli, where Eli didn't have a great first couple years, but then really, did well. Although I would also argue, so did Peyton Manning, just because it's happened a couple of times that guys don't start off well and then get better doesn't mean that you should be chasing that, because for every Josh Allen, there's, 100 Sam Darnolds or Josh Rosens, guys who just, were bad after 2 years and continued to be bad. So there's some hope. It's not a complete horrible situation, but there's absolutely a risk factor. And again, unless the turnovers clean up, this might be his last year making a list like this, because he won't be a starting quarterback next year. Number 5, I have Tua right here. And again, Tua is someone who, let's be honest, we all loved out of the draft. But the one thing we probably didn't pay enough attention to is the lack of arm strength was a real concern. And it, was a real problem last year, quite frankly. And it's one of those things where if you're making poor reads, well, okay, I trust that you can maybe get better at that. But for Tua, you can try and improve your arm strength, but there's only so much you can do about it, which is the concern. So again, there's hope here. And I've talked a lot about Tua and the ways I think he can improve and can become a better quarterback, but there's absolutely concerns. So he does make the top 5 of a negative list. Number 4, I have Andy Dalton, who, yes, I do have above Justin Fields, again, right now. Some people think Fields is a day one starter. I think Fields is a project. It's fine. We disagree. It is what it is. But, that being said, Andy Dalton, he's not the worst starting quarterback in the league, but he is pretty close. I mean, he's, in my opinion, a good backup quarterback at this point in his career. He's had some good years with Cincinnati. For the most part, he's been consistently solid. And I do think that these past couple years, he has fallen off a little bit, and he's kind of gone into the good backup, maybe the Joe Flacco range. He's a little bit better than that, but not by much. Number 3, Teddy Bridgewater, who, there was some good with Teddy Bridgewater in Carolina, and there was some good with him, in New Orleans, and some good with him in Minnesota. There, not much good with him when he was with the Jets, because he never played. He got traded. That was the weirdest thing ever. Remember when he got signed by the Jets, and then after the preseason traded for a 3rd-round pick to the Saints, I believe it was. That was an odd move, and maybe they would have been better off with Bridgewater, if we're being honest. But I understand the thing at the time. Bridgewater's not a bad quarterback. Again, none of these guys. You're starting quarterback, and to me, Bridgewater is a top 32 quarterback. I don't know if he's a top 25 quarterback. In fact, he isn't. According to this list, but there's just some issues with Bridgewater primarily, and the real lack of, I think, getting into the end zone. He blamed it on coaching. He said they didn't practice red zone stuff, but it's been a problem his whole career, getting touchdowns and racking up the bulk stats. He is kind of a, if Winston is all about, you gotta risk it for the biscuit. Bridgewater gets no biscuits. He doesn't take enough chances for my liking, which is why he's made the unfortunate top 3. Number 2, Tyrod Taylor, who, again, I like him, but do I want him as a starting quarterback on my team? No, I don't. I don't. And again, if Bridgewater doesn't take enough chances, then what does that say about Taylor? Because he really doesn't take enough chances. That's something that I remember Bills fans just got so frustrated with, is they would see guys open down the field, and Taylor would still just, check the ball down constantly. He doesn't turn the ball over because of it, which is nice, but he doesn't get the bulk stats either. So that's why he's unfortunately made this list. And again, there's going to be some good in every starting quarterback, but to me, he is the 2nd worst starting quarterback. Number 1, Sam Darnold. I got some criticism when I've had him as my 32nd quarterback in my quarterback rankings. He is the worst starting quarterback on my list, and I get it. I mean, I get there is still some potential, and I see the highlights. We all know that there's hope, but he hasn't been consistent at all. And I guess that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world when we're talking about a quarterback with potential. If you've shown inconsistencies, well then, hey, maybe you can finally put it all together. But the issue is that his highs are not even really that high. I mean, no matter what you look at, if you look at passer rating, well, his passer rating was a 72.7 last year. He had 9 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. He threw more interceptions than touchdowns. And in fact, over the course of his career, he's thrown 45 touchdowns to 39 interceptions. So he's just barely over a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. So regular stats are horrible. On top of it, if you're a film guy, well, Pro Football Focus had him graded as one of the worst quarterbacks in the league last year. Only Dwayne Haskins, Nick Mullins, and actually Jalen Hurts had lower grades than him. And, he was lower than guys like Mitchell Trubisky and Drew Lock last year. Again, for Darnold, you could make the same argument you can make about Jalen Hurts, which is the situation. And the situation wasn't great. But the one thing I'll say is that we still saw more flashes, I would say, from Hurts than I did from Darnold last year. And Hurts is, he's only played 1 year in the NFL. Darnold's played 3. I know Darnold is a young guy for heading into his 4th season, but still, there's just issues. And again, I'll go to the other side now, because this is a negative video, so I have to say the negative things about people, but I will say the positives as well. Like, he is capable of making throws that, quite frankly, no one else on this list is capable of. And I get that that's why people are kind of like, maybe I'm being a bit harsh on him, and perhaps I am, because the upside might be the highest out of anyone on this list still. And again, maybe part of it was Adam Gase. It's possible. I don't think so. That's not what I saw on tape. I definitely saw Adam Gase not being great, but I saw instances of him also screwing up. I saw both. But if you watched it and saw differently, I mean, that happens all the time. We can all, watch the tape and if 100 people watch film of one guy, we might end up with 100 different opinions. There'll be some similarities probably throughout, but you see it with the draft, right? There's people that say that, Justin Fields does this incredible, and then I'll say Justin Fields does this horrible. And it's like, how do we both come to different conclusions? What's going on? I don't really know. It's one of those weird things. So maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But we'll see. I would definitely, I think I would bet against Darnold. But at the same time, I said the same thing about Mayfield. And look at how Baker turned out. So I've been wrong before. We'll see if I'm wrong again. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.